Aha! So here we are, part 26, and yeah, next one on the list is the delete button. So basically what we would do is we would select an item of stock and click the delete button and it would delete that item of stock. So yeah, it should be pretty simple because we've got some public function that we can use for that. So I'll do that quickly right now. And there it is, there it's done. We've just created an on-click handler for the delete stock button. We're checking that we've actually selected something from the stock combo drop down, and we've passed over to our function to delete things. We want to delete it from the stock table. We want to, the criteria is where the stock ID equals the actual stock ID that's from the combo drop down. It is numerical, and the message that we want to print to confirm is delete. And then the value from the stock combo drop down column 3 is our concatenated ingredient name with the order ID. So let's close that, and yeah, let's select something from here. Let's select let's select amaretto underscore 14. Click delete. It says, do you want to delete amaretto cap underscore 14? You can click no if you don't want to, or yes. And it's deleted it. Well, it hasn't, because I got a little reminder here that actually the SQL to actually delete it has been commented out whilst I build it. So otherwise that is done. So we can go in and we can mark this one as done. 6 points. So what's next on the list? Well, the new recipe's done, and here's a list of all our recipes, so that's fine. Now we've got a mix button on here, which is essentially the same as selecting a recipe. Let's select that one and click in the open button, which is also done. And you might start to notice some of these little yellow boxes, which are little reminders of things I need to finish off on each of the forms, but we'll ignore those for a minute. So essentially we've got this make mix button here, which is going to go into, you know, if we select this recipe, we can make a mix of it. However, what's the point in loading up the recipe just to make a mix? It's probably more likely that you'll want to just select the recipe and select mix straight from here. So essentially all we need to do is to copy the functionality of that button and put it here, which I will do right now. And done. So yeah, simple click handler. Basically we check to see that there's something in the drop down. If there is, then we use our public function to open forms, our form opener function. We say the form we want to open, any criteria, no, but we do have some arguments. Obviously we need to pass across the recipe ID, which will come from that drop down. That's the actual value of it. And we also need to do this **1, because that, when the form opens, looks to see if it needs to automatically create a new record or a new mix for that recipe. So that bit is done. The only other thing that I've had to change, and I'll show you, so if we select a recipe, let's select Buzzkill, and let's say we want to make a mix of that, we just click that, and Buzzkill opens up, as you can see. So that's fine, and now the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that this was not there before. We only had the ID before. Now I will get rid of the ID because that is much less interesting and obvious as to what it is we're doing than the recipe name. So the recipe name will be up here at the top. So anyway, let's abort that, and well, that's the mix button done. So very rapidly I will change that border to 6 points, and let's have a look. All right, next one, delete button, and done, hopefully. Now that one was a little bit more complicated. Got a bit more code here for the delete recipe button click handler. I've got some definitions at the top. So basically what we're saying is if the you know, we've selected a recipe from the drop down, then the first thing we're going to do is delete that actual recipe from the recipes table. And that's where we've got our confirmation that we send over to our record deleter function that we created yesterday, day before yesterday, I don't know, pretty recently. So then if that was confirmed, then we need to delete all the recipe ingredients, which is fairly straightforward. We also then going to need to delete all the mixes and all the mix ingredients for that recipe, because if we delete a recipe, well, we need to delete everything to do with that recipe, otherwise things are going to go wrong. So we basically create a record set and we select all of the mixes where the mix recipe ID, or basically we're just selecting all of the mixes for that recipe. And then we go through them one by one and we delete the mix and also the mix ingredients for that recipe. So that will completely wipe out any record of this recipe or its ingredients or its mixes ingredients ever having existed. Then we do a quick refresh because we want it to disappear from this drop down once it's done. So let's give it a test. Let's have a look. What have we got? Well, actually, let's have a look at the tables. So we can see these are our recipes. So we've got 3, and we're going to delete. Let's say delete KKKKKKK. So KKKKK is a recipe ID 10. So if we go into the recipe ingredients table, we look at anything that's got a recipe ingredient recipe ID of 10, which is all of those. They need to be deleted. If we go into the mixes table, anything with a mix recipe ID of 10 needs to be deleted, which is that. And also we need to remember that mix ID 21, we need to delete all of the mix ingredients that belong to the mix ID 21, because that is for a recipe we're about to delete. So if we have a look into the mix ingredients, and there they are, we need to delete anything where the mix, my God, oh, all of these names are so similar. The mix ingredient mix ID is 21. So that should delete all of those. So close all those down, select KKK, select delete. Do you want to delete it? Yes, and I have actually removed the comments from the handler that deals with deleting. So this will actually go ahead and delete all those things we just spoke about, all being well. So let's hit that. It says deleted. So let's check first that the recipe is gone, and yeah, it's gone. 8 and 9 exist, but 10 does not. We've deleted it. Let's check all the recipe ingredients disappeared, and yes, we no longer have any recipe ingredients related to recipe ID 10, so that's worked. Let's go into the mixes, and we, no longer have any mixes where the recipe ID was 10. And finally, we need to check that the old mix that was for that, which had an ID of 21, has vanished from here, and we've got 19, 20, and 22. So it's deleted all those. So the delete button works, which of course means we can go in and set the border to 6 points, and we're done with that. So tomorrow we're going to have a little look at the last 3 buttons here. Until then, bye bye. Watching paint dry would be more interesting.